Wolverine's most significant asset has always been his healing factor, the ability to recover from nearly any injury. Whether it was bullets, slashes, or even catastrophic damage, this gift kept him alive in situations where others would fall. However, during a critical point in his life, Wolverine's healing factor fails, leaving him vulnerable in a way he has never been before. This monumental change forces him to adapt and eventually don a suit made of adamantium, the same indestructible metal that coats his skeleton, to survive his final showdown with his greatest enemy, Sabretooth. But how did Wolverine lose his healing powers? And why was this new armor essential for his survival in one of his most brutal fights? Wolverine's long-standing rivalry with Sabretooth had always been vicious, but things took a darker, more personal turn when Sabretooth decided to go after what hurt Wolverine most, his loved ones. Sabretooth initiated his assault not by attacking Wolverine directly, but by targeting his son Akihiro, Daken, and dismembering him in the cruelest way imaginable. This wasn't just a physical attack, it was a psychological one. The trauma from losing his son in such a brutal fashion broke Wolverine's spirit, leaving him mentally shattered. While the loss of a loved one didn't immediately strip Wolverine of his healing factor, it weakened his resolve and made him vulnerable in ways Sabretooth had never managed before. Sabretooth's continued assaults throughout this period compounded Wolverine's emotional and physical fatigue, pushing his healing abilities to their limit. As Sabretooth's attacks escalated, Wolverine's healing factor, once his greatest strength, began to falter. The combination of physical injuries and deep emotional trauma chipped away at his regenerative abilities. Each new wound took longer to heal, and over time, Wolverine started noticing something terrifying. His wounds no longer closed up like they used to. The small cuts lingered, bruises deepened, and even minor injuries bled far longer than usual. By the time Wolverine realized what was happening, his healing factor was nearly gone. Without it, the once invincible mutant became vulnerable to wounds that could be fatal. Wolverine, now stripped of his near immortality, was left grappling with the reality that each battle could be his last if he didn't adapt to his new limitations. With his healing factor no longer able to keep him alive, Wolverine needed a way to protect himself in his inevitable final confrontation with Sabretooth. The answer came in the form of an adamantium suit, constructed from the same metal that coats his bones. Though the armor was heavy and slowed his movements, it provided the indestructible protection he could no longer count on from his natural healing abilities. The adamantium suit wasn't just armor, it was a reflection of Wolverine's adaptation to his new reality. Though he couldn't heal, the armor allowed him to withstand the blows that would otherwise kill him. The once reckless fighter, who could throw himself into danger without a second thought, was now forced to strategize and rely on the suit's durability to survive the final battle that loomed ahead. The climactic battle between Wolverine and Sabretooth was inevitable, and it was destined to be one of the most vicious encounters between the two. Stripped of his healing factor, Wolverine now faced his most formidable opponent while more vulnerable than he had ever been. Clad in his adamantium armor, he confronted Sabretooth with a mixture of rage, grief, and determination. The fight was brutal, with Sabretooth taking full advantage of Wolverine's diminished state. Every slash and bite from Sabretooth left deep wounds, but the armor kept Wolverine alive long enough to counterattack. Unlike their previous battles, this wasn't just about brute strength. Wolverine had to outsmart Sabretooth. He used the weight of the adamantium suit to absorb blows, biding his time for the perfect moment to strike. As the fight wore on, Sabretooth taunted Wolverine about the loss of his healing powers, mocking his weakness. But Wolverine, ever the survivor, had one last trick up his sleeve, the Muramasa blade. The sword, capable of negating the healing factors of those it cuts, was Wolverine's ultimate weapon. In the fight's final moments, Wolverine delivered a decisive blow with the Muramasa blade, ensuring Sabretooth could not recover. Even after defeating Sabretooth, the cost of the battle was immense. Wolverine's body was battered, and without his healing factor, the wounds would leave permanent scars. His reliance on the adamantium suit, while necessary, was a constant reminder of his vulnerability. No longer the unstoppable force he once was, Wolverine had to face a new reality, one where every fight, every mission could be his last. The battle against Sabretooth was not just a physical one. It marked the end of an era for Wolverine. His healing factor, once a symbol of his resilience, was gone, and the emotional toll of his losses weighed heavily on him. Moving forward, Wolverine would need to adapt, relying on his experience, tactical mind, and the protection of the adamantium suit to survive in a world where danger lurked at every turn. This new chapter in Wolverine's life would redefine him as a fighter, and force him to confront the mortality he had long been able to ignore. Want to know more about Wolverine's epic transformation and final showdown with Sabretooth? Don't miss out. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the story. Subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite Marvel characters, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Let us know in the comments. Do you think Wolverine will ever regain his healing powers? Share your thoughts below.